All right, welcome to the big show, everyone. It's the Horror Syndicate Discourse, and tonight we're talking about Stephen King's, Brian De Palma's Carrie from 1976. We might touch on the sequel a little bit. I don't think there's really much to say. In the 2013 remake, maybe the 2002 remake, which was, I think, made for TV, which isn't very good in my opinion, although I've heard it sticks closer to the book. But Seth read the book or listened to an audio recording of the book narrated by Sissy Spacek, which is really cool. So he might know better than the people who say that that movie. Hey, Luke, is closer to the book. So without further ado, we're going to touch on the Hellraiser trailer because that came out yesterday and that was like all the buzz all over social media and even on our website. Most of our Hellraiser stuff got a lot of views. So we'll talk about that for a minute, and then we'll get into some 2022 Shudder recommendations that are on Shudder only, because the movies that are in the theater are not the only horror movies that have come out this year. The Black Phone and Barbarian and Pearl, which are all good movies, but there's so much more in Shudder, and we all have a different recommendation. So here's Seth. Say hi to the fancy people.
Hi, fancy people.
All right, fancy. Uh, I can't hear you. Probably mine. Seth can hear me.
I can hear you.
All right. And Nathan, how you doing, man?
Hey,
Well, you can hear me too, then.
what?
Ah. So anyway, real quick, get some reactions on the Hellraiser trailer, if you don't mind, guys. I know we kind of touched on it on the group chat, but I really am digging the way this movie's looking. But just based off the trailer, what do you guys think? One of you guys.
Wait for Seth, because I usually blabber.
I was waiting for Nate.
I think you're the most excited, Seth.
Sure, Seth.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this movie, and this trailer just really upped the excitement I already had even more. I'm really digging the look of the Cenobites, and it just looks like looks like a good looking film. It looks like we're finally going to get a Hellraiser movie with some production quality. And
Yeah, it looks really cool, and Jamie Clayton looks fantastic. And is she a fucking Templar, or what does it look on her chest? Isn't that the logo for
Oh,
one of those?
looks like the
I can't think of what it's called. Yeah,
Freemason.
the Freemasons. Yeah, she's a Freemason. One of the things I brought up on our chat yesterday was I wonder if like her. I love her voice first of all, but like if they're going to present her as more androgynous, almost sexless, like Pinhead's supposed to be. Nate, what do you think?
So, yeah, it's possible. I mean, as far as my excitement for it, like I probably haven't cared for a Hellraiser movie since the second one. So this is probably the first one since the second one that I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, I have hope. I don't know what to make of it. I just hope, and knowing, haven't seen the Night House.
No, you
That's
haven't.
no, I'm saying haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, like I have fairly well expectations because, as we talked about, what Hellraiser was so good about was the storyline, was the Julia
Yeah.
Frank stuff, and I'm hoping from the trailer, I'm not getting anything from that, but it's just a trailer, so I'm hoping that there is something there of substance, and I just knowing the filmmakers' work, and as the Night House had so much Hellraiser influence as it already was, tells me this guy is a fan, and so I think he probably knows the seriousness of this property and is probably saying he's probably just been as hungry for a good Hellraiser movie as anybody. So I think if I were him in his shoes, I would have put forth a whole lot of effort to make this not just a forgettable, movie. Of course, sometimes it's not in your hands; it's in the people who own the damn thing's hands.
Right.
But let's hope that he had freedom to make the movie he wanted.
Well, the rights did go back to, partial rights, I guess. I don't know. But it went back to Clive Barker, so he was
been good. Then we might be in good hands there.
He was involved.
Yeah, Clive Barker's involved. David S. Goyer's penning it, I guess, and he's been known to do some good stuff. He had a hand in the Dark Knight trilogy, which is not my favorite stuff, but I think Blade Trinity also. Not the best one of those either, but we'll see. I'm excited. October 7th coming on Hulu. We'll get to see what it's all about. I do expect it to be better than half the series, though.
I already like the look of the Cenobites. So
I do too.
It's cool to see a completely left field take. I mean, I was telling you guys, they look like Clive Barker and H.R. Giger made some kind of nightmare together. Or something. I mean, there's just something about the use of flesh that they did within the designs.
Yeah.
That is very upsetting looking, and that's what you kind of want from Hellraiser.
Yeah, it's and I don't know, like you don't see the black leather like you'd see in the older movies, and it's going to be a fresh take, a new fresh hell, if you will. And I'm really looking forward to it. And we won't get a chance to review it on the show because of our October plans, but we'll give it we'll talk about it at the top of the show after it airs for a few. The next thing I want to do, and Jared's not here, but we'll do his at last just in case he shows up. But like I said at the top of the show, if you don't have Shudder, you should have Shudder, the streaming app for horror, because it's got tons of good stuff, old and new. And we've been talking a lot about these movies the last couple weeks about getting ready for our top 25s or whatever of 2022, and I think I'm up to 19, and a lot of them are from Shudder. And a few of them are from the theater, but I mean, you're getting some quality stuff on Shudder, and I wanted us to give one recommendation for everybody to check out on Shudder. If you have the Shudder app, just go on Shudder and watch it. And it's from this year because there's a lot of good stuff on there. It's still stuff I haven't gotten to yet. Like Nate's up first with The Innocents. Tell us a little bit about this one and why you like it.
Well, right now, I think this is the highest ranked horror film on IMDb or on Rotten Tomatoes. I can't remember which one, but it's got the highest score of any horror film this year. And so I was like, all right, I got to check this out. It's a Norwegian film. It's not a remake of the 1961 Innocents. This was one of the most upsetting movies I've ever seen. And a lot of people I've talked to have turned it off after a certain point. Because of how upsetting it is. There is an act in the first 15, 20 minutes that I had to warn people, and a lot of people said they had to turn it off at that point. Basically, this story is about this family of 4, and they've moved into this kind of apartment building, and they're 2 daughters. They have 2 daughters. One of them, the older one, is autistic, and she's that kind of autistic who doesn't speak. She just kind of makes noise like bah, bah, that kind of thing. Doesn't react to anything. She stopped talking when she was about 4 or 5. And the youngest daughter seems to be maybe a little embarrassed by her, or just the youngest daughter does some things that maybe you watch and go, you little bitch, like fucking with the older daughter, the sister. And so there's a little boy in the neighborhood that she meets who lives in the apartment, and you meet these other kids that live in the apartment. But not to give that, the little boy starts doing something that you think it's a magic trick, but it's something he's doing with his mind, almost telekinesis, kind of in the theme of tonight's Carrie thing. But I don't want to give anything away, but just know that I was very, very bothered by the film, very upset by it. But I watched it all the way through, and I was pretty floored by it. Slow burn movie, very good in filmmaking, kind of had Kubrick vibes a bit, little Let the Right One In vibes a little bit, like kind of in that area of filmmaking.
That's cool.
Very well made. The child acting, because it's really from these 4 children's point, like their story, all fantastic. it could be the best horror film of the year. I think.
I was going to say, did you put it in your top 5?
I have it in my top 3
Top
because
3.
I really liked Nope and Prey, but it's as good as those, if not better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just saw Barbarian and Pearl, which I loved. I loved X. This will be in my top 10, and it won't leave it.
This year's list feels like it's already tougher than last year, in my opinion. Hi, Jared.
Hello.
Hello, I love you. Your volume's low again.
Let me see what I can do about it.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Seth's then, and then you play with your volume. Seth, this is yours, Moloch.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about it because I don't really want to give a whole lot away, but it's a very slow burn movie, and it's a mixture of Dutch and English language, and it's just, for me, it was a movie where I felt like the third act really pays off.
Yes, it does.
Kind of the slow burn of the first 2 acts, and
Mm-hmm.
I just really love the way that the movie ended. In general, I thought the acting was pretty good. I don't know if necessarily the characters were completely likable, but the acting was pretty good, and I just really liked the story behind it.
There's a lot of intrigue and mystery in this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There should be a Hank movie, not Pearl. Yeah, I agree. I liked it. You recommended it highly the other day, and I was like, let me fucking watch this movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. Yeah, check out Moloch. It's on Shudder. There's like, seriously, the last 20 minutes, in my opinion, were like, remind me of Hereditary a little bit, but maybe better. Jared, how's your volume going?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but very lightly. Let's talk about your movie. Go ahead. What Josiah saw.
Yeah, so what Josiah saw is about a small farm family. The patriarch is Robert Patrick. He is and his kids. It kind of fast forward to their life. There is an oil company that wants to take over their family plot, but basically they need everybody's signature to take over the plot to build and drill. And kind of like Moloch, it's a very slow burn. It doesn't feel like a horror movie until probably the last, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or so. But I don't know if you guys know who Scott Hayes is. He plays one of the children in the family. He's done a couple of other movies, but Nick Stahl is also one of the siblings. Yeah. So I mean, it has a decent cast. It's a very slow burn, but you really don't realize what the fuck's going on until probably the last 20 minutes of the movie, which is in my view is a really good idea, but at the same time, like, this movie gives you like 2 different stories to follow. So I mean, it's like if you can follow it for like the first hour, you're golden, because like you get drifted on in one direction, then you get drifted on into another direction, then it all comes together at a head at the end. But it was impressive. I don't know where I rank it yet because I've only seen like 7 movies now so far this year, not as many as you guys.
I have no life, so
it's definitely worth a watch, and I think it's pretty cool that we all came up with 4 different movies to, suggest, because there is a shit ton of movies out there right now to watch,
especially on Shudder. That's why I wanted to do this, because there's so many, and I chose probably the dumbest of all of the movies because it was so much fun to watch. Excuse me, but there's movies like Seth told me about the movie Off Season. Watch that; it's fantastic. It's very. Did you see that one, Nate?
I haven't seen that one. That's on my list. The other one I saw that I fucking loved was See No Evil or Speak No Evil.
Yeah, that's on my list. So that just came out on Shudder.
Speak No Evil fucking blew me away. Another really disturbing, hard to watch movie.
Not to be confused with the See No Evil one.
Right.
Yeah, this was another from Holland or
It's Dutch, isn't it?
Dutch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It looks good though. I've heard it's got some really intense scenes even towards the beginning. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't
very
seen it.
discomforting.
Yeah.
Another slow burn. Actually, that was the one that reminded me more Kubrick and more Kubrick than the other one, really.
I love
got
a good
mixed
slow
up.
burn. Another one that before I get to mine is Hellbender. I really like that one. Also, it's pretty damn good. So check that out. It's a witch movie. And
Didn't
then
you
the one
watch Glorious too?
I did watch Glorious. Yes, it was odd. Did you watch that one?
No, but the trailer alone like sinks you in because it's got J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons is a voice in a toilet, like a highway rest area bathroom, and he needs what's his name to stick something in a hole, like a glory hole. And it's first of all, it's not what you think. It's a very weird movie. Definitely worth a watch. It's just weird. Watch it. It's on Shudder. So that was one of the ones I wanted to pick something kind of fun and kind of see. Glorious was fun. Yeah, fun and kind of goofy.
I think a friend of mine co-wrote that. I think Joshua Hull.
Oh, really?
I almost co-wrote a movie with him about 12 years ago. We were at Horror Hound and Harley Poe. We were going to make some kind of little horror movie. But yeah, it's cool to see someone like have a hit on his hands. And Glorious has been pretty popular from what I've seen.
Yeah, well, it also just came out like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. So definitely check out Glorious. That's on my top 15 list, I believe, so far. But this movie is so dumb. The Seed, I loved it because it's so dumb. I don't know if any of you guys watched it at all.
No.
It's about a social media influencer who goes away with her two friends to like this remote area in Arizona, and there's a comet, and it's like this little turtle creature thing that starts fucking with them and impregnates one of them. It's really fucking weird, and I really enjoyed it. It was stupid. It was fun. It was definitely worth watching. And I don't know why I like stupid movies like this, but I had a lot of fun. I think, Jared, you would like this one for sure.
Hell yeah. It's on my list already. I know that.
Yeah, definitely watch The Seed if you can. But there's 4 movies right there on Shudder that are absolutely worth watching if you don't have Shudder. I mean, we don't work for Shudder, first of all. We're just horror fans. And Shudder has been getting so many exclusives. Last year really opened my eyes to it with The Boy Behind the Door, I think was on Shudder, right? What's that? Jacob's Wife was on Shudder. There was a bunch of them. I can't even remember all of them, but this year there's so many more. So check out what Josiah saw. The Innocents, I'm looking forward to digging into. Moloch, I could actually put my stamp of approval on as well, just like Seth. And The Seed is just fun. It's stupid fun, stupid early 20s girls, and one of the girls is from Resident Evil, Angela Ashmore, I think, all grown up. So it's really fucking weird.
I watched Moloch last night too. But you guys talk about it, yeah. The payoff is chilling imageries and stuff. And I like the lead actress a lot in the film.
Mm-hmm. She was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know she was.
Did you get Hereditary vibes at the end? Towards the end?
Yeah, I can see where you're getting that from.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so there you go. 4 movies to check out. There's so many more. Again, Off Season's one. Glorious is one. So I mean, Shudder's they've got at least 15 horror movies from 2022 to check out. And then when you watch all these, we want to see how you rank them, along with The Black Phone and Nope and all the other ones. Barbarian. By the way, go see Barbarian. If you haven't, go see Pearl if you haven't. Both are really strong horror movies, in my opinion. We've all seen all of them, haven't we?
I haven't seen Barbarian yet. I've been checking my local theater for like the last 2 weeks, and they're finally getting it Friday, so I'm gonna go this weekend.
Same with him. I haven't seen Barbarian yet, but I've seen Pearl.
Okay.
Barbarian is like one of the funnest films I've seen in a long time at a theater. It's like, it has a bit of every genre you can think of.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have a blast with it.
I think so. I took Reynolds to see it, and he fucking loved it. His favorite horror. My son Reynolds is 13. He watched a lot of horror movies, and his favorite was the Black Phone, but I think Barbarian passed that up. He just had a smile on his face at the end. He's like, that was fun. I'm like, yeah, that's what's fun about going to the theater and watching horror movies. It's, they're fun. And
Yeah.
Barbarian was, it was good. I really liked it. And Pearl was good as well. It was, the thing I liked about it, first of all, was Mia Goth's performance. She was phenomenal in that film. Yeah. And in the very end, with the last 20 minutes or so, but even so, the build up to everything, the way her mom treats her, what she has to do for her dad, it's just a really cool movie. And I love that it's shot almost like it was made in the early 1920s or 30s or whatever. It's just like, a fun movie.
It's like if Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz,
yeah,
mixed up with Lizzie Borden or something. It's just, it's really wild.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So check it out.
I got so much Wizard of Oz vibes watching it.
Yeah, I did too.
Every time she was riding her bike in the corn.
The cornfield.
Did you hear that? Yeah, definitely check out Pearl in the theater. Give these movies some love because they're worth it. Unfortunately, I was in a showing that had 3 people around me snoring. I'm like, how are they sleeping through this? I mean, there's a scene where she gives this what do they call it? A monologue.
Yeah, that's the best part of the film.
It's one fucking shot too.
Yep.
You're waiting for him to cut back to the person she's talking to, and it doesn't cut back. And I'm like, holy fuck, she's a powerhouse, Mia Goth. She's great. So check it out. Let's see. Barbarian had my crowd respond. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I felt like the old school horror movie experience because the audience was totally participating in Barbarian.
Yep, absolutely agree with that. That was great, especially when they get there's a tunnel, so that's in this. Yeah, they both are. Anyway, Carrie. Let's talk about Carrie. All right, so we decided to talk about Carrie. Jared, you can come back.
Sorry, I was adjusting my belt.
Oh, getting ready to talk about Carrie, I guess. I thought you were getting away before I just ruined the movie. Anyway, we're talking about Carrie today, the 1976 film from Brian De Palma and Stephen King's, based off Stephen King's novel, which is kind of a legendary, iconic horror movie, really. And I was thinking while I was watching it today, I watched the 2013 one the other day. I was thinking to myself, what kind of movie is this? Not yet, no. Pearl's in the theater.
Yeah, it just came out.
Pearl just opened last Friday.
Yeah, last Friday.
Well, not even out a week yet.
So with Carrie is about a girl who has telekinesis. Everybody knows that. But it's also about a girl who gets severely bullied, not only by people in high school, because kids in high school are fucking cruel, but her mom as well. And it's kind of like, I mean, we've seen the images like this where she has her first period in the shower and they're throwing the tampons and whatever else they're called at the girl while she has no clue what's going on. And she kind of later on gets her revenge. So anyway, you guys have all seen Carrie, right? And I know, Nate, you particularly love the movie. Seth and Jared, I'd like to get your views on it, if you don't mind, Seth. I know, and you read you listened to the audiobook today, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I mean, I really like De Palma's movie. It's not one that I've watched a whole lot, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't remember the last time I watched it prior to last night, and I have no reason why, but I just haven't. But it's a very good movie. It's actually a pretty solid adaptation of the book too. It only really changes, with the ending, but yeah, it's a really good movie.
It really is, and I don't visit it as much, like you said. But part of my reason I don't watch it as much is because when I get to see it after a year or two, it's kind of going back in fresh and seeing it again and enjoying it. Like, I revisit a lot of the Elm Street movies or whatever a lot, but Carrie's one that I like to sit on, and then wait and go see it again to feel the impact, And Jared, what about you? What are your thoughts on Carrie?
It's definitely one of those movies I've only seen a handful of times. Everybody says, it's a staple of horror and stuff like that, but
yeah,
this is one of those movies that I can watch once, and it sits with you for so long that you don't feel like you need to watch it very often. And that's not saying that's a bad thing. Um, but I did rewatch it today too, and I think I might have watched it like 2 years ago last time, probably.
It was 3 for me.
That's being generous. Yeah, two
Yeah.
years or so ago. It's not one of those movies you know sit and watch. At least for me, you know, once or twice a year, or you'll stop at what you're doing and watch it when it's on. It's not one of those type of movies for me, but it is one of those movies that when you sit and watch it front to back, it still sits with you. Like
Yeah.
it did for me today because funny story, I had a funny situation when I was in high school when the entire gym laughed at me. So yeah, I do know how she felt. I didn't have pig's blood dropped on me. I did not win prom queen either. Although I was fucked over for that. I should have won it. But anyways,
We could have rigged the box for you if we were there, but yeah. So Nate, I know you have a. I forgot to ask. Do you have Amazon reviews for this one?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get to those after your initial remarks on Carrie, like how you feel about it. I know that it's kind of a personal film to you.
Well, I've always felt it's one of the best horror films ever made. I just like I would even throw it in the top 20 ever of everything. I think it's that good. I think it's probably my favorite De Palma film, which is a no saying a lot because it's one of the great filmmakers. I think it's my favorite of his work. I think it's my second favorite Stephen King adaptation.
What's the first? Shining?
The Shining.
yeah,
That's all.
I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah.
I just
That's
think
cemetery
it's very simple. It goes by really fast. It moves
does.
fast.
Yeah.
I mean, in the first hour, we're already at the prom.
hmm
There's not that many scenes with like Carrie and her mom as you think, and there's not. It kind of just breezes by, and there's different perspectives on it. Like someone's just said that, people like watching bullies get their comeuppance, and the thing about Carrie is, yeah, we do, but like we see a lot of other people who aren't bullies get their comeuppance, get punished. There really aren't. If you put this on if you turn this on another way. This might as well be a school shooting movie. Because I mean, a lot of innocent people get killed in this movie. Most of them are innocent. Really, when you think of it, there's only a few like the real only bullies are Nancy Allen and PJ Souls, and maybe PJ Souls' boyfriend. Because John Travolta's character doesn't even fucking know her. He's just doing it because he got a blowjob.
He even says she's pretty.
Yeah. He says, hey, she's pretty.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know her. He's just doing it for his girlfriend. Because when he's like getting a blowjob from him, she's like, I hate Carrie White. He's like, who?
Yeah.
He's like, he has no idea. He doesn't go to that school. He doesn't. And the only ones laughing when everything happens are PJ Souls and the guy that was taking her boyfriend, I guess, or her date. Everyone else is looking like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
No one's laughing with them.
But her mom got to her in that respect, and that's why.
Yeah. But it does happen because of this. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to get into the bullying. I think there's a lot there to unfold. But yeah,
the double to quad shots were amazing. Yeah, all the quick cuts and everything was so great. Yeah,
the filmmaking alone is just like because I did revisit the remake. I went and saw it in the theaters, and Gillian Anderson, I said that last week. Julianne Moore is one of my favorite actresses. I love Chloe. I always have ever since seeing 500 Days of Summer. I think was the first time I saw her. Of course, Kick-Ass right after that. But the thing about the remake is it just lacks vision. It doesn't have De Palma's visionary filmmaking skills, and every frame in this movie is a painting. It's a beautiful work of art in every way, and the ambition of shots that just the wonder alone where PJ's collecting the ballots. I mean, it starts at the table with Tommy and Carrie, her picking up the ballot off of their table, follows PJ and their boyfriend around. They ditch the ballots, puts them, and she goes back over, gives it to the table, passes over. It goes down to show you them under the stage, follows the line over to Amy Irving walking up from behind the stage, goes up, goes over, crane over top of the bucket, then comes and rests right back into Carrie and Tommy at the table when they get announced. I mean, it's a pretty ambitious shot. Of course, Brian De Palma is like the biggest Hitchcock nerd. He's like just ripped off Hitchcock so much. But that's also kind of a Orson Welles kind of shot, kind of a touch of evil kind of thing, who I'm sure was a huge influence on De Palma. This movie's so Hitchcock even just steals music straight from Bernard Herrmann.
There's definitely music from.
Yeah, he's lifting that straight from Bernard. I mean, it's Total Psycho's music. I mean, and not even just the violins, but there's a couple other parts that sound like Bernard Herrmann's score from Psycho. But yeah, I think technically this movie is sound as hell, perfectly written, perfectly structured, paced, and we got two, I believe, Sissy and Piper were nominated for Oscars for their performances. That's unheard of in a horror film.
Piper Laurie is amazing.
They're both incredible, and everybody in it. There's not a really weak performance in the whole movie. Everyone's really good, and if you watch like the remake, no one but Chloe. I mean, I like Judy Greer. I do like Judy.
I love Judy Greer.
I always love Judy, but like the girl playing Chris in the remake,
forgettable. Yeah.
The guy playing, I mean, John Travolta is not the best actor in Carrie. I'll say that. Right? You know, it's just classic Barbarino, John Travolta at that point.
Smacking girls around, too.
Told you I'd say that, you know. But like even PJ So stands out a lot in Carrie when she probably wasn't even supposed to. And I don't think she was actually supposed to be in the movie that much, but she stood out to De Palma in her audition. And he liked the red hat she wore, which is a great little touch too. Gives her character.
I noticed something that I hadn't noticed before when she's getting her hair done, and she's got that thing over her hair. Her hat's on top of it. I never noticed that before.
But I just went on a long thing, so you know, wherever you want to take it next.
Well, I want to go to the Amazon reviews real fast,
okay.
And then I want to get into the guts, if you will. So here's Nate's 1-star Amazon reviews. These are always a lot of fun.
Okay. 1-star review of Carrie from Palm Tree. Extremely overrated. Holy crap, this was garbage. Extremely overrated. There are a lot of short and sweet ones, really. 1-star review, Matt Moser. 1 star. Terrible. Hated it. With no comma. All right, here's a good one. All right.
Did you say with no comma?
Yeah, I had no comma. Cheryl, 1 star. Child pornography of teenage girls and beginning of movie. Watched this movie as a teenager and then again when much older. After the girls' locker scene, the movie was somewhat intense, which is great for an older horror movie. However, the teenagers in this movie are supposed to be teenagers around 17 years old. Review states Carrie is 17 in this movie, so with that being confirmed, I'll say that means that many complete nude girls, including complete frontal nude teenage girls in a high school locker room, would be child porn of these young girls. I don't remember this part as a teenager. However, these days we are definitely educated and aware of what falls in the child pornography category. We'll get into that, I guess. 1-star review, disappointed. My life is horror movies. Although lots of nudity and a good story, the acting was bad. 1 star from Sally. Terrible. This was the most stupid movie I have ever seen. Don't waste your time watching this movie. I do not understand the people who rated over 1 star for this movie. 2 stars. Watch 10 minutes. That was more than enough. 2 stars. 2 stars. Don't believe the hype. Let's see. 2 stars. Okay, if I have to, Carrie was not scary. Once again, Stephen King's novel was better than this movie. I only enjoyed the ending when the pig's blood was poured on her because it was the only good and funny part of the whole movie. And my advice is to watch the remake. It's way better. 2 stars. Boring, ridiculous. Carrie was my first exposure to Stephen King, DVD or otherwise. It will also be my last. The first part of the movie was boring. It was also unpleasant to watch Carrie's mother abuse her and classmates make fun of her. Then comes the famous ending. Totally unrealistic. That's right.
There's a lot to unpack there. But yeah, I don't. Sometimes I don't understand why people hate some movies so much when, like, I don't get it. Like, the filmmaking, as you said, Nate, is very, very tight in this movie.
Well, they don't know that. They don't understand it. They don't know what they're looking at.
I guess to the layman, they don't understand. But yeah, I think that the performances alone from Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie are just, I mean, that line, they're all going to laugh at you, is fucking iconic. And the delivery is so emotional. You know, it's, yeah, whatever. These people. Contrarians. Yeah, which remake? That's a good question.
I'm pretty sure they're talking about the Chloe Grace
The 2013 remake is very similar to the movie, with a few differences here and there, but it's not that different. So it's just shot worse. Is the best way to put it.
The only thing that really steps out, like, we're watching it. I mean, again, I like people in it, but like, I do really like that the scene with Chris's head smashed into the windshield.
Yeah.
He goes up to it. Like, that was a really cool little addition. Cool. Other than the rest of the movie, I could probably live without watching it again.
I liked the way Chloe Grace looked in the dress with the blood, like the blood on her face. Like, actually, I think that's really cool looking, you know. But yeah. Anyway, let's get into Carrie.
Julianne Moore did good.
Oh, she was great.
She's always good. It's, I think it's not the act, it's not their performances at all. It's the filmmaking and the fact that it was close to the original in dialogue and everything. And it's like, I've already heard those lines spoken perfectly already. Like, and I can't get that out of my head. I can't not hear Piper Laurie and Sissy Spacek deliver those lines.
Right.
One of my favorite scenes. Sorry, Nate, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's it.
I was going to say one of my favorite scenes is the dinner scene between Carrie and her mom. She's trying to convince her to go to the prom. He's a nice boy and all this different stuff. And that last line she says, you know, she's like, I'm going. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I love that scene.
I fucking love that moment.
Yeah,
my favorite moments.
It kind of fell flat. And when I was watching the 2013 movie, I was like, that's the best. That's my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, there's absolutely no power in the Chloe Moretz version, and it's not their fault. It's the way De Palma edited and the pacing and the way he framed her in that window, sitting there saying, "I'm going, Mama, and you can't stop me."
I was going to say it's Sissy Spacek, 100%.
And I'm not going. Yeah, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. And just little things like when they're sitting there and she's talking. And her mother throws the water at her face, and the light goes out. And she doesn't even stop. It's like if any of us like had our mothers throw their water in our face, we'd react. But it's like this is every day for her. Like she barely doesn't even it doesn't even phase her that her mom just threw water in her face. She just I'd steal that all the time. Yeah,
right.
It's just so the movie breaks my fucking heart. It really does. I mean, there's so much I want to get into with her.
The thing I pull away from that moment, though, also is the fact that she's finally standing up for herself. You know, after, like, she tried to at the beginning of the movie when her mom found out about the period, and she's trying to get her to repeat what she's saying and all this. And she's like, I don't want to say that, but she ends up doing it. She ends up folding, not this time. This is the time Carrie finally has enough confidence in herself to stand up to her mom's bullshit, you know, and that's one of the things I like about it. Not to mention, like you said, the framing and the little doorway space or whatever it is, and Sissy Spacek, the look on her face when she says that I don't want to talk about it anymore is so fucking good. You know, it's I don't know. There's something haunting about Sissy Spacek in this movie, though, her appearance to me. I think I mentioned it last week when we said we were going to talk about this, but there's something about the way she looks that really adds to the creep factor. I told Seth before the show, there's times that she looks almost skeletal, you know, as skinny as she is, as pale as she is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
too.
Yeah.
That stare she has.
Yeah, I found I got a bunch of pictures I wanted to show because there's a lot of strong imagery in this movie, as we were saying. But like you mentioned, the stare like that.
That scene, I think, was when I first saw the movie. That was one of the scariest because that's where Travolta and Nancy Allen are coming at her in the car, and she just turns, and the editing and the psycho screech scared the shit out of me in that moment.
Yeah,
and just there's that wide where the way she's crouched down and she's twisted back, and the car flips. There was just something about that imagery that got me, and her body language after she's in the blood. I just had learned recently was inspired by a painting of Joan of Arc, with the hands kind of up and down to the side. Just really, that it's just so iconic looking. And it's not just the fact that, because again, they did it in the remake, but there's just something about this and Sissy and the way she's walking and her body language, and again, those eyes, and it's just untouchable. It's one of horror's great images.
I agree. Yes, thank you, Scott, for agreeing with me. Somebody agrees with me. She's got a creep factor to her look.
It's extremely creepy.
Yeah, and I like that. I was telling Seth before that when she auditioned for the role, she wanted it so bad that she quit this commercial she was going to shoot and put Vaseline in her hair and kept her face dirty, no makeup, didn't wash it, and went in and sold to the casting director, and I guess maybe Brian De Palma, that she was the right part, which is, I'm glad they did, because Melanie Griffith was one that was up for it, and somebody whose name I can't remember was up for it. And I don't know that anybody can, even though Seth tells me that in the book she's described as a thicker girl.
She's overweight,
yeah,
like bad acne, and yeah. I haven't read it since like 89 or so I don't remember.
It makes more sense for the storyline, I guess.
Yeah,
I've never read the book myself.
It's really good.
That would make sense, though, that she would be kind of unattractive and overweight. That would make sense based off of what Stephen King likes to write, for sure.
And we could start with just the book itself, because everybody knows that was a book that Stephen's wife fished out of the garbage can, that he didn't believe in it. He had not been published, or he'd been published maybe some magazines or whatever, but he hadn't had a book published. And he was writing it for a magazine, right? Like for a short, but it was too long. And he just didn't believe it. And she said, I think this is good. I think maybe she was amused about it or something. Anyway, she just liked it. And he finished it. I think his publisher gave him an advance of $1,200 or something. And they were broke as fuck. And they were going to sell it. And they said, whatever it got, whatever money it made, he would split 50-50 with the publisher. And he thought it would be a little bit, but the guy called up and said it made $400,000, and he thought he was going to get. He thought he said 14,000, and he was only thinking he'd get maybe 15,000 or something. But it sold for $400,000 or something, and his life was changed right there. He and
good job, Tabitha.
And they sold the rights, the film rights, for just $2,500 or something. But he didn't care because he loved the movie, and it pretty much made his life, made his career.
So this was the first Stephen King adaptation?
Yeah, first book, first adaptation.
Wow, I didn't actually know that. I guess I'll hand over my horror card. Let me get.
It was published 74? Is that what it was? The book?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm looking right now.
73 or 74.
And then like
74.
I think Salem's Lot was his second novel,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
I was gonna say, like, when you're in his position, like, I need the money now. I will do.
Yeah, they didn't have shit, man. They were broke as fuck.
I didn't. That's well.
Both of them are just living writers. Like, I still don't know how they did it. It's so funny.
No, also, I forgot to mention, it is Stephen King's birthday today.
Yeah.
He's 75.
75.
Yeah, which is really fucking cool that we're doing this show on his birthday. Talk about his first adaptation, his first published book. Yeah, yeah, that's a kind of an iconic moment.
That creeped me out too. Yeah, again with that creak creak.
Yeah,
where you crash, and that's Brian De Palma's nephew, I think, is the boy. He kind of looks like the kid that played Michael on Jaws a little bit.
Mm.
But that's what I thought it was for the longest time. And also the one that plays the teacher dubs his voice because it sounds really odd, but that's her voice playing as the boy, like whining and saying creepy Carrie.
That's the teacher? The gym teacher?
Yeah, that's the gym teacher's voice.
Huh. Weird. I didn't know that either. There's a lot that I don't know, apparently.
You can kind of tell if you listen to it. You can tell it's dubbed, and you can tell it doesn't sound like a little boy, really. It sounds
well, yeah, I knew
odd.
it was dubbed. I just didn't know it was the teacher.
Yeah. I guess should we jump into the opening of the film? Just kind of the volleyball game.
Shower scene?
The shower scene that was child pornography. Like, any teen high school movie we saw in the 80s had nudity and they're supposed to be naked. Like, I've heard people talk about having trouble with Freddy Krueger. Oh, he's not a pedophile, blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, the kids in Nightmare on Elm Street were 15. They say Tina Gray's 15. I mean, all these movies, Friday the 13th, they're teenagers.
Yep.
Okay, we see sex scenes, we see shower scenes, we saw Noah's bitch.
Just one of the guys.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Have you not seen Porky's? Come on.
Yeah.
The actresses weren't. The actresses were in their 20s.
Yeah. Sissy Spacek, I think she was 26 when she filmed this.
Yeah. They were all in their 20s. And the teacher was only like 3 years older than Sissy Spacek. Yeah.
Jesus.
The rest of the girls.
I'd like to see her in the shower.
I didn't realize Sissy Spacek is that old.
Yeah, she's 72. I looked that up earlier because I was like, how old was she? Because like all these Nancy Allen you see full frontal, and all these other girls you see that, and it's like
they were about 23.
Yeah, they're all in their mid 20s. I think Nancy Allen was younger than Sissy Spacek, but I mean, still 3 years younger is 23.
Sissy had done Badlands about 3 years before this, and she'd been around.
Yeah. So yeah, that opening scene, it's the music that plays over it. It you don't get the vibe of a horror movie. First of all, as these girls it's kind of slow motion, and they're in, changing back into their clothes from gym, and
you get past that they're teenage girls in a show. It's a very fucking beautiful sequence.
Yeah.
I mean, from the hot haze, the steam from the showers, and the slow dolling, and slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get in there, when she's bathing, it's pretty. That like the music and everything. And then hearing Sissy talk about what she was thinking of when this happens, she said that De Palma had told her that when she discovers the period blood, that it's supposed to be like getting hit by a Mack truck. And she's like, I don't know what that meant. Like, what? What's that mean? And Sissy's boyfriend at the time was the art director on this film, and he had been hit by a truck when he was a kid, and he told her what that was like to get hit by a truck. And he said, it was Christmas, I was walking down the street looking at the Christmas lights, and like in a day, you're looking at these beautiful Christmas lights, and then bam, I saw the truck lights and I got hit. She goes, so when I'm laying there with my eyes closed and I'm bathing myself, I'm walking down the street looking at Christmas lights. And when I see the blood, I'm seeing the lights of that truck. And then I get hit with it.
Mm.
And, when you start to imagine she thinks she's dying. I mean, it's really, it's such a tragic.
And she said how much it hurt also.
Yeah. a child who doesn't know what's happening to her and thinks she's dying right there and begging for help, and they're just laughing at her. It's so nightmarish. And then you turn it on its head, and even the teacher says, "I just wanted to shake her," and like,
And she slaps her.
It's just your period, it's just like that. She goes, "I understand why the girls were acting the way they were, because it's not a big deal," but they didn't realize that she doesn't know. And the thing I wanted to talk about this film, because I've dealt with it, and I know a lot of us have dealt with bullying. I have a daughter who's dealing with shit like this, and I think the important conversation to have about it is when someone is different, like Carrie is, and is dealing with certain things that other people can't relate to. They don't know what it's like to be raised by the psychopath that she's raised by.
Right.
To be sheltered and to not know, and to be, she says, "I feel like I'm on Mars," or like she goes, "I need to be like a real whole person." She does not feel like a normal person. She does not understand that world and who these people are, and how boyfriends and all these things that teenage girls take for granted or experience in different ways. She doesn't understand how that works. And I think there's a thing where when people, it's like, I find when someone's a little different or doesn't fully understand things, people meet that with frustration, especially take mental illness for starters. If someone's got a mental illness and you don't know anything about mental illness, people have a lack of patience or understanding for that. And so for some reason, they channel it through anger or mockery or impatience. And I think that's kind of how these girls react. Like, they don't even think about the trauma. Of course, that goes into a lot of kids at that age don't know empathy. And what we really see, and especially in the Sue Snell character, is an awareness of, oh, I'm hurting somebody. When she gets shaken by the teacher, like, what are you doing? And what's really beautiful about the Sue Snell characters, we're seeing a kid who didn't really know finally become aware of other people and their feelings and the cause and effect of my actions. We see that character grow to the point where she does become selfless and say, I'm going to give my experience to this girl, because I want to punish myself because I fucking deserve it.
Yeah.
And I'm not, like, Chris is totally selfish. She's only having it taken away from her because of her actions. But Sue's like, I'm going to make a sacrifice. This one of the beautiful parts is the Sue Snell character, is we see a young person become aware of other people and put somebody before herself. But that reaction that they have, the teacher says, I understood why they reacted that way, because I wanted to smack the shit out of her and tell her, hey, it's not a big deal. It's just really a lot of interesting things going on in there. It's just interesting that Stephen King was able to, and Brian De Palma and all them were able to tap into that, not being females themselves or young women, because it does feel there's something about women in bullying that is very different from men in bullying. Like, in my experience, girls can be so much meaner. With men, it's like a different thing. It's like, it's just a macho alpha male kind of thing. It's a toughness thing. But with women, it's like this kind of evilness that goes on in it. Like, why are they fucking with Carrie? Like, what? The guys don't really give a shit about Carrie. They're not really bullying Carrie. It's the girls. And what is it about girls who they target another girl who's not doing anything to them, like, who's not doing anything
because she's
wrong.
different.
It's because she's different.
Yeah.
She's an easy target. And it's, I don't know. There's something about girl bullying. Because, guys,
more cool.
It could just be more it's more manipulative. I don't know. It's just something very. Guys, we're fucking cavemen. We're just fucking.
Yeah.
I don't. But
girls are meaner than boys.
Girls could just
girls can be really cool.
Knife, yes.
Yeah.
And it's throwing Tampax and tampons, plug it up. It's fucking awful. And she's crying, she's screaming, begging for help.
Looking for
she's
help,
terrified. It's so hard to watch that scene. And to be a father of a little girl. Imagine your little girl experiencing that. It just sucks.
Helena watched that scene with me today, and she didn't understand what was going on, and she kept asking, "What's wrong with Carrie?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Why are they picking on her?" I'm like, "Because she's different." She's like, "How is she different?" I'm like, "Oh man." And a lot of it's not even Carrie's fault. That's a lot of it is her mom projecting onto her, and she's the reason she is the way she is, really. I mean,
in her position, Carrie might as well be being stabbed by some psychopath, and they're just like, "Get away from me!" Like, I'm bleeding to death here. I'm dying. Help me! I'm suffocating. I can't breathe. I'm choking, and people aren't trying to help me. They're trying to just throw breadsticks at me at the restaurant instead of giving me the Heimlich maneuver.
Have this instead.
Yeah.
It's definitely a tough scene to watch. The secretary from Ferris Bueller's, she's one of the bullies.
It always made me, when because I saw, I always remember Edie McClurg. That's who it is. Edie McClurg is, we called her Mrs. Poole because I think she was
from Hogan's Family.
Hogan's Family, and that's what I knew her from originally. My whole family called her Mrs. Poole because she was on Hogan's Family.
Yeah,
and then
funny
Ferris Bueller.
Elizabeth. Wow. Helena.
She was
pointed her out. She's like, "How is she making fun of her?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Look, she's a nerd." I'm like, "A nerd?" I listen to you. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
Kids say the darndest things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. You bring up, because she's saying that because Edie McClurg is overweight. She's got big glasses on.
Yeah.
She doesn't look as pretty as Nancy Allen and all that, and not many people do, but you also go because I remember when Chloe was cast as, that's something I could talk about. When Chloe was cast in the remake, people said she's too pretty to be Carrie, right? And I said, it's not really about looks, because some of the girls who are bullied or outsiders or shy or quiet are beautiful girls. It's about her, how she carries herself. It's about her awkwardness. It's about, she's an easy target. It's not always about looks. It's
because she's mousy and quiet. And she doesn't dress nice, and
she doesn't know how to connect with people, and she makes herself small, and she hides, and she sits alone, and she doesn't know how to fit in, because it's just everything is, as she says, I don't know how to be a full person. I need to be a full person. I need to go to the prom. I need to talk to people. I need to go out with people. I need to do these things. I have it, and I'm weird because of it. And people just see me as that weird girl. Even though the Sissy Spacek is beautiful. She really is an attractive girl. She's, in the movie, she put all the crap in her hair to make her hair look bad. And you dress with her. But so... No,
her body language really helped too, though, in that movie.
Yeah.
The way Sissy Spacek was, like you said, she was shrinking herself.
She holds her book down.
Always had her arms crossed. Yeah, there's so much to that.
And it's something that shy people do to not be seen, to not be noticed. As we make ourselves small, we hide ourselves. We don't.
How can you make yourself small, Nate? You're like 6'12".
As big as I am, people seem to not know I'm there. And not hear me. So, because I'm very introverted in a lot of time, even I can sit here and talk all day, but I don't walk around taking up a lot of room.
Couldn't wait till they killed off PJ Souls' character. She was annoying, scummy, evil bitch too. Norma.
She's kind of the worst of the bunch in many ways, because she just has no empathy. I mean, Nancy Allen kind of has a motive, and as shitty as it to say, she does do it for revenge in some ways. More so the PJ's character is just a little shit bitch. I mean,
she's a follower too.
Yeah, she's a follower.
Yeah.
But it's even in that scene, like I think we've all could relate as a teenager. The scene where Tommy and Sue are being talked to by the coach in the office, and she comes in to give the teacher something, and she's kind of lingering there, smiling, like, "Ooh, you're in trouble," or like, that little fucking shitty bitchy ass shit. Just putting her nose in it, wanting to be in, wanting to know what's going on, and just kind of lingering there, even though she shouldn't. She should get out of there. Yeah, PJ plays that part really, really fucking well in this movie. I don't really like her at all in this film, although she's great at it. I love PJ Soles, but she's really a little shit in this movie.
Holy cow! The rain is coming down really hard right now. Sorry. Yeah, I agree with you in that she's always got that look on her face too, like
that smirk,
shit-eating grin. Yeah, as my mom would say, shit-eating grin. But I mean, that's the thing about some of the characters in this. Like, she is a slimy, shit-eating grin bitch or whatever. But I like the character because of that, because she does such a good job. Just like
Nancy Allen.
Nancy Allen, thank you. I was trying to call her Karen Allen. Different actress, but Nancy Allen, it's just like, I love her as an actress, and there's so many other roles that she's in, like RoboCop, but like also she's such a bitch, and just like one of these entitled bitches who could be from now, like, but I love her character because she's such a fucking bitch, and she gets slapped around the whole movie though too. By John Travolta and the PE teacher or coach or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like that. One of the things I was watching today, noticed that and wanted to touch on a little bit, was how important prom was to these girls.
Yeah.
Because Scott's trolling this Tracy Marshall.
Totally.
It says she was just as annoying at Halloween, her and that ridiculous giggle, and then Scott said totally. Anyway, but like I like that, showing how
make his rings getting to him.
Okay, am I coming through okay?
Hey, you're freezing up. I think you're
I think it's a storm. So we had to talk about something else. I'll be right back.
What do you guys want to talk about? I know I've gone on for a while, so.
Well, I mean, for me, this isn't just, this is primarily the tragedy of Carrie White, but there's other tragedies in there as well, particularly the character of Tommy, we haven't really talked about, and even with Sue, because they were two people trying to do they were trying to do the right thing, and they were pretty well genuine. Now, that's a lot more clear in the book. And when I was watching this movie last night, I haven't not seen it in a long time. And of course, I knew where it was going with the prom thing. One of the things is that I don't know if you guys felt this too, but there was times where I was kind of questioning whether in the film whether Sue and Tommy were, they were being legitimate with their concern and care for Carrie, or if they were a part of it. But I think they were, they were good, likable characters, and I like William Katt's performance as Tommy. And
I think Tommy and Sue are being sincere about it. I do think. I don't think they're awful people. I think Sue got caught up in the peer pressure in the moment. Yeah. And once she got shaken, she realized, oh fuck, what am I doing? I think she actually what am I doing? I think she felt a lot of guilt, and I think
Sue's
Tommy,
the one who opened up the pad.
She's the one that does it. Yeah, it's kind of a commentary on mob mentality, where people who would normally not do something that bad will get caught up in the moment and will do things that they're not rationally thinking about. That's why I don't think all these people deserve the punishment they get for what happens. I think there were a couple people who are shitheads and deserve. I don't think they deserve to die, but I don't think all those people doing what they did were awful human beings.
Yeah.
And I don't think they, in their right mind, not caught up in the moment, would have done something so dramatic. But I do think that Tommy, I don't think Tommy thought prom was a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal for her, but because she was the one saying, "Look, I want you to do this," and he's like, "Well, why? Why she? You know, like." But I think that I don't think he felt negative towards Carrie. He probably just thought she was kind of odd, quiet girl. But I haven't read the book, but I have, but it's been 30 years, so I don't remember. But I just think he was aware of it, but I don't think he thought too much about Carrie White on a daily basis. Like,
yeah. I mean, and you're right. And like, I think I was only questioning it like when I was watching it last night because, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it. I knew what it was leading up to, and I wasn't quite certain if, I didn't recall if they were a part of it or not. But there was like a moment earlier in the movie where the teacher's reading his poem, and he asks for the critique, and Carrie says it's beautiful, and then Tommy says you suck, and
the teacher makes fun of her.
Yeah, and in hindsight, I totally get that Sue and Tommy were definitely being genuine. It was a lot more clear in the book too.
Yeah.
Like when she first asked him to do it in the book, he after a little bit back and forth, he agrees to it, and because he'll do anything for her, and that's the first time he tells her that he loves her, and so that's why he's doing this. He's doing this for Sue, and he has no ill will towards. And it sort of mirrors Chris's story too, with her and her boyfriend Billy. Where I got the book fresh in my mind more so than the movie, but like he'll do anything for Chris, including murder for her and all that. And then, I mean, even in the book, like when it comes to the time to for the whole thing with the blood, it seemed like he really wanted to do it. Like it was Chris's plan, but he was really into it all of a sudden. And to him, like there was like a thing in the book where he, was like, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Carrie and Tommy. If anyone who gets kinged and, become the king and queen, they're going to get the blood on them. But like there's a parallel between those two stories where there's,
sure.
Chris and her boyfriend, and then Tommy and Sue and their intentions towards Carrie. One wants to help, one wants to destroy her. And yeah.
I mean, Travolta plays the part very much just like he's just a dumbass, in my opinion. Like I don't think he has a lot going on in the upstairs area. The guy in the remake seemed a lot more like intelligent and more maybe even borderline criminal.
Yeah, he was a little bit more like in the book, the character was a little bit more like psychotic, like pretty much where Chris is like, she kind of like fears that now that because she like finally put out, and then she's like kind of like afraid of him after, like where he's gonna fucking just take her by will, and he actually attempts it in the book, and he starts beating her up at the end in the book. Like he's a lot more psychotic.
That's what I get from the remake. I think remake got that better than De Palma, where Travolta doesn't feel like that big of a threat. He feels more of like a dumbass kid who's just whatever. Yeah, I'll do it. I don't think he's got any sinister side to him. He has. I mean, it's a dark thing to do, but I don't think he was very aware. He's just a dumbass.
Yeah.
Of course, that just could be John Travolta's voice and attitude and that. Yeah, right, yeah. But in that couple, Nancy Allen seemed to be in De Palma's movie more of the femme fatale, in control, smarter of the two.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like better than having the guy. Like it could, because it should be about Carrie and Chris. And
Well,
that,
yeah.
that,
I mean,
that strife.
yeah. I mean, Chris. I'm not saying that Chris chickens out. He's the one that pulls the
She
string
wants to do it.
for the buckets, and which ultimately leads to Tommy's death. But yeah, and everyone's death.
I will mention one thing, filmic wise, talking about good and evil. We've talked about color palettes in the past, and something I noticed is that when someone's good, they're wearing blue. And the evil is red, because there's so much talk about red. I should have known it was red. I should have known it was red.
Oh, yeah,
red.
she thinks her dress is red. Yeah. I mean, then, of course, Carrie's covered in red.
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah.
But when she comes home and washes it off, she puts a blue nightgown on to be cleaned again. And Tommy's wearing all denim when he asks her out. And Sue is wearing blue when she asks him to ask Carrie out. And so if you go back and watch their costumes, and of course PJ Souls has a red cap on. I mean, she's got the red the whole time. She's and I think Nancy Allen has the red lipstick, and I think she's wearing red a lot in the movie. I think John Travolta's car is red. I think the car that Tommy takes her to the prom in is blue. So the blue is kind of representing the good, and red's representing the evil in the film.
Depth, man. I didn't know that. That's the thing. I said it last week. Every time we talk about these movies, I have to go back and watch them again, because you mentioned something like that I didn't pick up on, which is good. And hopefully anybody who watches our shows will pick up on this stuff too, their next viewing of Carrie. So, yeah, that's very cool.
We should talk about Piper. Guess we haven't really talked about Mrs.
Talk
White.
about Piper. Holy fuck, man. First of all, I mean, her introduction is when she meets Sue's mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she says these are godless times we live in, and Sue's mom, I'll drink to that. That's such a I love that. It's such a, but Piper, she's got this serious look on her face, like she could, like, staring daggers, and man, what a great
she's terrifying, and like and Piper Laurie doesn't come off that way, like in reality and in everything else I've seen her in, like that she went to that place. Like, I think even De Palma said she was fucking creepy on set, just the things she would do. And there is, like, even that scene where she's talking to the mom, you could tell, like, the mom is just like, I want this woman out of my house. So, like, it just makes you uncomfortable. And religious fanaticism is kind of like that. Like, someone who is, like,
fun note, she was the doctor in Elm Street 3.
Yeah, Priscilla, and she's Amy Irving's real life mother too. So
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
In fact, at the end where Snoo is freaking out, when Amy Irving's freaking out, she actually calls her Amy in that scene, trying to calm her down, because she was freaking her out in real life in the scene. Because her daughter, when she wakes up after the arm grab. Priscilla Pointer says, like, I actually call her Amy in that scene because I was trying to calm her down, and because she was so wild in that scene.
I'll have to watch that part again too. Yeah, be more perceptive, Ray. Come on. Yeah, but yeah, let's get into you guys. Piper Laurie.
That scene that's the visual I was talking about. Like, that's a painting. That's like a Renaissance painting or something. I mean, it's mimicking the crucified figure in her room that she locks her in and makes her pray.
In the closet, yeah.
Yeah, and but the look on her face, like, that's what's scary about that final scene, is Piper Laurie's doing what she dies happy. She actually seems like she's in ecstasy when she dies, because she's going to heaven. Like, people who are that faithful, that's what they like. Killing Carrie, she thinks she's saving Carrie's soul, that she's sending her where she needs to go, to heaven. She's sending her to God, and like when she stabs
look at her there.
she's smiling after she stabs her. Like she's like, and next is like, I'm sending my daughter. I'm saving her soul. I should have killed her when she was born. That's what she says. I should have killed you. You know, and
well, they show that in the remake. They actually up to giving birth on her own, which.
And this is like the first time we see her really embrace Carrie, and Carrie wants her, hold me, mama. They hurt me. They laughed at me, and it's such a, and then to stab her in the back, it's symbolic. It's like, you know,
twist bag. I've never heard twist bag.
Fucking, the movie's just heartbreaking all around for Carrie. I just feel so much like a character who never had a chance, a person who never had a chance. Like everybody. And this one bit of kindness that this teacher and Tommy and Sue showed her gave her one great moment, and it was destroyed by what these fuckers did to her. And all of that was erased, and she was doomed from that moment. It's a great fucking movie, great story, great. It should be celebrated more than I think it is in many ways. I think it's one of the best horror films of the last 50 years, top 10. I would put it. I could be wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong. It's definitely one of the best of the last 50 years. But the weird thing is, 50 years is only since 1972. So we're running out of time on the 50-year mark. But yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot about this movie that I don't like. When we talked about during your reviews, the 1-star Amazon reviews, and I don't understand what people see when they look at this movie. I mean, I just got a few shots saved from the movie that we've already seen, like how it goes from this to like her happiest moment of her life.
Yeah.
All the way,
beautiful, like that sequence, and then like that. I love the shot where they're dancing and they're talking, and the camera's going in the opposite direction, circling them, and they're spinning.
They're dancing, yeah.
And there's no one else in the shot but them, and you're looking up at them like in a heavenly moment, and he's. There's almost a little bit of him that is falling in love with her. I think a little bit. Like when he says, I really like it. And he wants to kiss her. He doesn't just kiss her to kiss her. He actually goes in to kiss her without even really thinking about it. Like his feelings are going towards, I feel like I want to kiss her in this moment. And he does. And it's, it's really amazing stuff. And the choice to do that, to shoot that scene that way. Again, one take in a very interesting way. That's where the remake just doesn't even come close. It doesn't do anything like that. It does nothing ambitious other than some of the CGI stuff they did with it that they could get away with. But that was the thing. Like everything in this is all in camera. This is all shit that has to happen on the day that they have to figure out how to do.
Yeah, like
and she lets people live in the remake too. Like nobody gets out of there other than Chris and Billy or whatever. So, and they die after. So.
What's up?
You know, one of my favorite sequences in this movie is like a classic De Palma moment. It's where Sue kind of traces the rope up to the beam. It's like almost kind of like reminiscent in a way of like that scene in Untouchables where there's the stairway and the baby, like everything's in slow motion and the music is just great. That was just like that's my favorite scene in this movie. It's that classic De Palma building of
Hitchcock.
It's
it's the bomb under the table that the audience knows.
Oh yeah,
Sue knows, but no one else knows it, and Sue is the only one who can stop this.
Yep.
Sue is the only one who can save her. And and the good person who thinks they're doing good stops it, gets in the way of it stopping.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a great sequence. The editing.
Yeah, I was watching that tonight, and it like neither her nor the PE teacher did anything to run to the stage and say, "Get out of the way, Carrie."
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Well, one thing that bothered me about that sequence was Sue was in front of the stage, looking down, at where Chris and Billy were. Yeah, and then the teacher comes and pulls her away. Why didn't Sue say, "Hey, they're under the stage"?
You don't have a date. You are ejected from prom.
She is. She's pointing and yelling, but
I know she is, but they're not listening to her.
Everyone's cheering and it's loud in there.
Yeah, I guess that's
probably
true.
Music playing, and there's probably, and she's just thinking, I'm not going to listen to anything this girl's saying, this because she thinks that Sue is angry that Carrie's kissing her boyfriend and all this shit, or that Sue has set her up for something, or to embarrass her, or ruin this off her from her, because she's still suspicious.
Yeah, that's true. Even though like they have that great scene where they're talking to each other, and she shares her that moment, she still suspects something's going on. Because like, why would Tommy and Sue do that? And Sue, especially when Sue was one of those people. So when she sees Sue, there's those instincts kicked in. Yeah, are you shooing me away? Is that what that was?
Another little moment I like is Tommy's reaction when the teacher is like confronting them about why they're doing it, and they look at him and he's like, he just laughs like, what? I don't know what,
because he doesn't have an answer for it.
He's like, I don't know what you want to hear. Like, and I really love William Katt in this movie. I really like Amy Irving in the movie. I really like all of them. Nancy Allen is great. It's just really good casting. And of course, Ray, we know we could talk about that casting session that we know is legendary, that they cast this movie from the Star Wars casting, that Brian sat in on George Lucas's Star Wars casting, and
William Katt could have been Luke Skywalker.
William was up for Luke with Kurt Russell, and
what about what could you imagine this as Luke Skywalker? Look at that hair.
They would have cut it. I actually got to meet. I met William Katt and PJ. William and Katt were sitting next to each other at Days of the Dead, and I talked to both of them, and we were talking about all their casting they went on. And I asked William, "Did you ever read for Halloween?" Since they were all going around doing the same thing, he said no. And PJ was like, "I think Dennis did." She was married to Dennis Quaid at the time, and she goes, "I think Dennis did read for Halloween." She goes, but William's like, "No, I don't think I went for Halloween." But yeah, it was just kind of interesting to talk to them. They were trying to think about it. But William was really nice in person.
I wonder who he would have gone for. Bob, maybe?
Maybe. I think Dennis was maybe up for Bob.
I think so.
That'd be the only person that I can think of that would really have a somewhat substantial part as a male in that movie. I mean, you never see Paul.
Well, back then you're just trying to get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they were all unknowns, really. I mean, PJ had done Carrie, but still, it wasn't like
Rock and
her
Roll
phone
High
was
School
ringing.
Too, right?
Yeah, Rock and Roll High School, I think, was
the year before Halloween.
Was that 70? Well, I mean, the Ramones didn't really blow up till 76, 77. So I don't remember what Rock and Roll High School was. That 79?
I thought it was 77, but I could be wrong.
Could have been.
No, it's 79. You're right.
79. Yeah, so it was after Halloween, and because that was her movie, really. She was kind of the lead in Rock and Roll High School. Other than it is a Ramones movie, but it was.
Oh, hey, that's on Peacock.
It's a fun one.
Yeah, I like her in Stripes the best, but that's because get a good view of the
Stripes. I talked to her about that one because it was shot in Louisville, and when I met her, I was like, "Yeah, I'm from Louisville." So I know you shot Stripes there. She goes, "All I remember was freezing because I'm from California. I'm a California girl."
I love PJ. PJ Souls, by the way, if you ever get to meet her at a convention, which I know you have, Nate, she is one of the nicest people of all time. She
very sweet.
Yeah, so she asked me to pick out a picture on her table to sign, and I picked out. I was like, I got two of these that I like, and so I picked out a picture of Michael Myers as the ghost behind her, get ready to strangle her, and she starts writing something. I was like, wait, don't put that down. I want you to put something else down. So she's like, oh, okay, and she's like, which was the other one you wanted? I was like, this one that looks like a senior picture, and she's like, okay, you can have both of them. I'm like, really? And then she gave me a big hug and gave Reynolds a hug. I was like, I love this fucking lady. She's so nice. And I told her, I was like, you still look good today as you did in 1978. Anyway, well, PJ Souls.
You're such a ham.
Yeah, for crushes from back in the day, hell yeah. I mean, do you remember when I saw Lisa Wilcox? How bad I was sweating Amanda Wiss? Oh my God. I was going to die. Anyway.
Got there, you were the charming ham you are.
Devastating good looks. I mean, come on. Anyway. Anyway, back to Carrie.
Back to Carrie.
It's all relative. PJ Souls isn't Carrie, so.
I did the use of the split diopter, where you see somebody up close in the background, where you know, the focal length. Yeah, that was they use that a lot in the movie. And of course, the split screen.
Yeah, the split screen, the quick cuts to Carrie, to the crowd, to what was going on. That whole. I didn't even say bye. That whole. I mean, editing in that had to be a pain in the ass, I'm sure. But like, that whole scene is so fucking put together really well. I mean, you get to see different points of view.
Yeah.
It starts with the split screen when she's looking at all the stuff, closing the windows or whatever, and it's that's my favorite part's that dinner scene. But I really do love that scene as well because it's just like the way it's shot, the way it's edited together. It looks so fucking cool.
I know De Palma said he regrets doing it. He didn't like. He said, well, his thought was that the revenge is such a personal thing to block it out like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of robbing the intimacy of revenge. So he said that's his regret was the split screen, and he actually cut a lot. There was a lot more split screen in the original cut that he got rid of because of that afterthought. But I guess he'd already committed to it so much that he couldn't cut it all out. But yeah, I mean, apparently he had that whole entire film storyboarded out before they even cast or anything. Like he had the whole film.
I think it turned out great. I loved it. That's a highlight of the movie for me.
Yeah. And it's something we just don't see. I can't think of other movies that have, I mean, there's other movies with split screen, but I can't think of another movie that utilize it like that. I mean, one of my favorite split screen moments is Jackie Brown. It's one of my favorites. The gun in the glove compartment reveal was really nice, where you show Jackie and Nordell, and you see all of a sudden it cuts to like Robert Forster driving. You're like, why are they showing Robert Forster split screen driving as this important scene? And you see him pull up and open his glove compartment and realize his gun's not in there anymore. And then you hear the click because it's in the dark and Jackie's got his gun. That was a great use of split screen.
Did you ever see Rules of Attraction?
Yeah, Roger Avery's movie.
You had the split screen in that where they're walking, Shannon Phillips-Mon, and then they're walking and it's split screen and it comes together in one piece. It's really fucking cool. That's one of the ones I've always liked. But anyway, gonna get off track again. So should we talk about the long walk home then? When Carrie's walking home, first of all, killing Billy and Chris, and then when she gets home and
like the cop car passing her, like the cop car passing her.
All
the emergency vehicles go.
Yeah, I mean, she takes this long, slow walk home, and then that's what I like. This right here, this walking, like she's still got her hands in the same position as when she was on stage,
I like the one where she goes upstairs to the attic and goes to the bathroom, and her mom's standing there the whole time, and you don't see her until she turns the bathroom light on, and her mom's face gets illuminated behind the door.
Like Michael Myers.
Yeah, and she stands there the whole time as she bathes because she never moves until after she comes out. And she grabs her, and
her mom had big time mental problems. I swear it couldn't have been just being a religious fanatic. There had to be something wrong with her because she was completely out there. I mean, that's one thing that I thought about that in the remake that I kind of liked when she got trapped in the closet, and it did add a little bit to, and then she pried her way out rather than what happens in this one. But I do like. What we talked about for a minute is after Carrie puts on the nightgown after washing all the blood off of her, and boy, that blood looks like it's not coming off on her face either. It's just because it's you know.
Well, you should also talk about that blood looks like real blood. Like
Yeah.
at that time in horror, blood was often that red paint look.
Well,
Like
look at
Dawn of the
2 years
Dead.
later, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
Well, even in Exorcist, when she stabbed it, it's like red paint. It's like
Yeah.
this blood
Very
looks like
thick.
real blood. And talking about Lori, like one of the other things I always stood out was when she can't control Carrie. When Carrie's like, "I'm going," and she's putting the makeup on, and Piper's like, "Don't go, they're gonna laugh at you." One of the powerful things of that moment is where she starts like pulling her hair and hitting herself. And she's like, "Don't hurt!" Like, oh well, like I'm going to hurt myself if you don't do what I want you to do. Like I'm gonna like someone threatening to hurt themselves.
See, they set that up in the remake, showing her that she hurt herself all the time. In this one, it's executed better because you don't expect it to happen. She just starts doing it. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, it's a total what the fuck moment, more so than in the remake, where she's, like I was telling stuff before the show, it shows her working at a dry cleaner, and she is talking to Sue's mom. That's when they talk, and she pulls up her skirt and starts cutting her leg with a hemming thing, and it's I like it better in this movie because she just last ditch effort to get Carrie to not go. Let's take the dress off and we'll burn it together and pray.
Yeah.
She starts abusing herself, pulling her hair and acting
it's kind of like the "don't leave me or I'll kill myself" kind of thing.
Yeah.
Don't,
well,
don't
it
hurt
also
me
reminds you of a kid. Like an infant. Don't leave, mommy. I'm going. And it's fucking, and Piper, Lori, the way she plays it, she pulls it off so fucking convincingly. Like you're like, I mean, even today when I've seen Carrie, numerous times, and even today watching that scene, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, God damn, got the cringe face going, like I'm just like sitting there, one eye open, like, God, what's wrong with her? Like she's so convincing in that part, and that especially at that moment, I love it. Seth, do you love it?
Yeah.
Was any of that in the novel? Then, since you've just listened to it, like her self-infliction, is that part of her religious belief, or just her? What was any of that in the book?
It came in that moment. I think right before it was during that moment where she went in. She's like, I'd known it would have been red.
Yeah.
And she starts doing that. She starts pulling her own hair. She scratches at her own face. And Carrie says to her, stop it, because I'm still going. This isn't going to stop me from going, something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the only real time that it's mentioned. But there's a lot of, of course, there's a lot more with Margaret White's history and, Carrie's past and all that other stuff kind of mentioned in the book as well. But.
Yeah, I mean, she talks about her Carrie's dad and Carrie's wise to it. And I don't remember what point I think it was it the dinner scene, or was it before she went to the prom, where she's like, the mom's saying some other power took her father, and she's like, he left. He found another woman and left.
Everyone knows that, Mama.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't lie to me anymore. It was you. He left because of you, and I'm leaving you now. I mean, I think part of the desperation of what she does is like, oh, Carrie's going to leave me.
Yeah. And that's probably her biggest fear, even though she wanted to kill her at birth. And I don't know, like the monologues, I guess, that Piper Laurie does in the movie, but everything that she says comes off very powerful, even in her storytelling, because she believes herself, even though she probably knows the truth, And I don't know, it's a great character that she played and brought to life. I really like got to be one of the top performances in horror history, up there with Annie Wilkes.
And she's someone who sinned, and I wonder, I mean, this could have been in the book. Did her radicalness amplify when she noticed Carrie's powers as an infant with the rocks falling on the house and shit, there was an incident when she was a child, right? That Carrie had these.
But I think I think in the book it was established that she was already sort of like a religious beforehand.
But she thought her daughter was the devil or had Satan in her from that moment on.
Yeah. And there's actually a moment in the book too where she reflects on the fact that it was something that Margaret's grandmother had in the past, that she saw some stuff that her grandmother did, and she knew that it was kind of like passed down.
She keeps using the word witch about her, so definitely she calls her a witch twice, or even in her absence, she says of that night suffer a witch or not let a witch live. Or
Jared lost connection. He just texted the group. And Carrie, she combats that and says, "I'm not the only one," and not a witch.
Other people can do it.
Yeah, other people can do it. Yeah, it's just that's one of the things I like about Carrie's character. As she progresses through the movie, she starts seeing through the bullshit like pretty early. But I don't know. I like whenever she's just able to combat what the crazy that is her mom, and she's starting to break those chains. One of the things I like about the movie.
Starting to question and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that scares religious people.
Yeah.
Another little thing I like, I love the choice of the guys trying on the tuxedos and the speed up, the fast forward of them talking.
What about the music they play though? I mean, the most 70s possible music of all time.
And I love that they're just having fun, like they're joking and playing around. Because I could see some screenwriter writing that part right. Why are you taking Carrie White, man? What's wrong with you? Like, people are gonna laugh or blah 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 blah. It's not. It's just like this fun-loving little moment, and you realize those guys don't care about.
No, they're talking about ruffles on the fucking tuxes, and I question myself, like, who put ruffles on tuxes?
When the blood hits Carrie, that one guy, like, he's the one that PJ slaps, like, ha ha ha. He's just looking at her like, you bitch, fucked up. Like, what the fuck, dude?
I feel like that the Carrie White thing, I mean, maybe little kids knew to pick on her and shit, but I think it was more of a female versus female thing rather than any male.
Which it really always is.
It never seemed like it was like, because Tommy almost didn't, acknowledge her existence. And the guy, like you said, the guys never said anything about her while they're trying on the tuxes and stuff. I also like her going and putting the makeup on at the cosmetics store.
And there's always this kind of we talk about women and looks and things like that. And women are so worried about their looks sometimes, but a lot of it's all because of what other women think or what other women say. Most men don't really give a shit. Like, we don't. Like, it's the other women and what they say and what they think about you that gets to women, and I think that's part of, again, is that part of what makes this a different type of bullying, because women put so much into their so much of what they look like in their worth or things like that, and acceptance and being popular, especially at that age, and fitting in and I mean, there's so many little things like that where, again, guys, we don't really give a fuck. Like, we guys kind of just, even when we get angry at each other and we might even fight, we're like, we forget it in an hour, or, we don't hang on to grudges. We don't have this festering grudge where you get like 2-3 girls together. 2 of them are going to come off on and fuck with the other one or talk shit about the other one when they're not around, or even break up and go with the other one. It's always this weird difference in the two sexes, which just makes this a different story than what we see in bullying. Because when we watch movies with male bullying, it's just all the guys making me say uncle, or he's throwing rocks at me, or he's punching me or beating me up, whatever. But it's a different thing than it's a physical caveman bullying rather than a self-worth, tear you down, you are cutely broken person, and emotionally and in every way, to where you just like I read that women are more likely to kill themselves over this shit than men are. Teenage girls hurting themselves and all this has risen because of online bullying, since we talked about it last week, but since social media, and all that. It's just scary stuff, and that was where I thought the remake could have pushed it further. One of the things I did like about the remake that I thought it's that okay in the book, is Tommy dead when the bucket hits him?
No,
in the remake it seems like he's dead.
Well,
Ansel's dead.
Yeah, well, in the book, one of the buckets still was like halfway full of blood when it hit him in the head, and it knocked him.
Killed him.
It knocked him pretty much unconscious, and he wasn't able to regain consciousness before the
burning,
before the explosion, because the fire eventually hit the oil or whatever, and there was a big explosion that killed him, and there was like a point in the book that was talking about how his death was kind of painless. So,
yeah. But in the Brian De Palma, it feels like he's just knocked out or hit.
Yeah.
But in the movie, we see Ansel staring, eyes open. He's dead. Like I really, and I think it hits. You see the kids react like, "Oh fuck, he's dead." Like, and she's holding him, doesn't she? Hold him, and he's not. Yeah. I kind of another big thing we could talk about is I know in the book the teacher lives, and in the remake the teacher lives, but in this one she dies. And what do you think about that choice? I kind of liked it that Carrie sees everyone's laughing at it because it's kind of her mom's putting that in her head. They're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. That's all she hears. Mom was right. Mom was right. And she's hallucinating that this is they all are in, and that we see a lot of innocent people die in this movie more and in very horrible ways. Yeah. Than the people who really truly deserve it.
The interesting thing too is with the book, it really made it seem like the teacher was actually laughing when the blood hit, and so there was a point where she runs towards Carrie to help her afterwards, but Carrie knew that she was laughing and she used her telekinesis to throw her away. But yeah, she survived. Yeah,
I do like the teacher's performance in the movie and the subtleness of when she's like when she's telling Carrie, "Hey, look at yourself, you're pretty," and he kind of moves the camera to her, and there's that little we see her thinking, and her face kind of goes away from the smiling, putting on the airs that then he goes right to her, going right to Tommy and go, "Why are you taking her?" Like she knows. She's telling her, "Oh, that's nice. He's a cute boy, right?" But in the back of her head, the whole time she's thinking, "These fuckers are fucking with her." I'm gonna put it in. And so to see her heart go out to Carrie, but there's also so much else going on in there. But there's just very subtle ways in the performance of the teacher, like actors are supposed to do. We're supposed to see them thinking and responding without saying something. Or what their mindset or where their emotions are going. And I thought she did really well in the performance. I mean, I love Judy Greer. I think this actress does a better job with it. Again, it's probably more of the directing and the writing than because Judy Greer's totally capable of that as well. So I just think the remake is just not that well made. It's really what the problem is. I think Chloe and Jillian and Judy more than capable. And I love Ansel. I've always liked Ansel. I thought he's really good as Tommy in the remake. The Sue girl. Yeah. I believe him. I believe that he's a good guy and he likes her and he's
I don't like the Sue in the remake very much. And then
and the Chris.
And the Chris, yeah, I didn't care for those two. Chris especially seemed like just kind of a throwaway actress.
They don't stand out at all.
Yeah, didn't seem very believable, as I was saying with Ansel, whatever his last name is. If we try to sit and compare the two, I think that the 2013 Carrie is a decent attempt to update Carrie and bring it into modern times, but it also takes a lot away from the original film. Where the original film, I mean, there's no need to update it. damn near perfect as it is,
And again, we're talking, and I've brought this up many times. This was a time where Brian De Palma is one of our greatest filmmakers. I mean, this is a guy whose peers were Scorsese and Coppola and Spielberg. I mean, Spielberg was and George Lucas. Spielberg was hanging out on set, and they said he was hitting on all the girls the whole time and that's why Brian invited him. Hey, there's got a bunch of girls on set, and he ended up marrying Amy Irving. It's one of the ones that said yes and went out with him, and so he and those guys would hang out and they would help each other. I mean, we know that Brian De Palma was the one that told him to do the crawl in Star Wars. Wasn't he the one that suggested
I think so.
that?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
And so these guys were talking to each other, hanging out, getting advice, getting influence from one another, competing with each other. That's a good, healthy competition to try to one-up each other. They were all colleagues and peers.
Some of the greatest directors came out of that little group alone.
Yeah, that USC, Coppola was kind of their...
Yeah, kind of led the pack with The Godfather, moving on to De Palma and Spielberg. Yeah, it's crazy how that little tight group became such the powerhouses in Hollywood. And George Lucas. I mean, there's so much I want to say about George Lucas. All positive. I love the guy. He's one of my favorite.
George was just very different from them. But he was really super talented, and they all admired the shit out of George. I mean,
George had the brain.
George was. Yeah, George was more cerebral than the rest of them. I mean, George was more moving towards what can we do with the medium that it's not being done, whereas the other guys were really more students of what had come before. So George was always trying to push the envelope, and that's where I think maybe they felt intimidated. Like, this guy's going to create shit and push this thing into something that we don't even know about yet, which he did.
Yep,
I mean,
he did.
ILM and THX and all that shit. Like, he changed the way movies were made. And
he did. And he still doesn't get enough credit for it.
And no, everybody just makes a joke of him. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't have more than half the movies we have now if it wasn't for George Lucas's brain.
Yeah.
For ingenuity and inventiveness and, ILM. I mean, I know it's a lot of other people that, are working behind the scenes like Dennis Muren and Dykstra and so many others. But George Lucas is like, yeah, but we can do this. You can do this. I know you can do it.
Yeah, he's the one pushing them to do it. He's giving them the challenge, and you have to have someone there to say, can you do this? And why not?
And he's the one with the money too. I mean, after Star Wars, because he financed that by himself. Anyway, I could talk about George Lucas for fucking days. I love George Lucas. Like, I'm one of those people who loves him for who he is and what he's done, and I think he gets a lot of shit because of the Star Wars prequels, which I adore. So anyway, but this has been a pretty good conversation about Carrie. Is there anything else you want to go over before we bounce?
No, I'm good. We've gone about 2 hours.
Yeah, this was a pretty good one. I really enjoyed it. Well, we got to talk about those Shudder movies that we recommended. We talked about Hellraiser a bit. And next week we get to start on our October movies, which we're starting with the Creature from the Black Lagoon movies. Has anybody got a start yet?
No, I'll wait till Carrie's over before I started on it.
I watched the first one because I was sitting there and I kind of want to watch Creature from the Black Lagoon, and there's one scene that always sticks out in my head that I'll never forget as a kid watching. It's this scene here where he's swimming, where she's just minding her own business, swimming along, and he's right there with her. And that one always got me, more so than Jaws. Jaws is the movie they say that made you not want to go back in the water. But what about Creature from the Black Lagoon? I mean, he's right under her. When she's treading water, he's trying to grab her feet. So it's a really great movie. I can't wait to watch the sequel.
You don't want me. I'm not Julie Adams in a bikini or swimsuit.
Right.
Jaws wants to eat me.
Yeah, he'll eat anybody. I mean, he ate that damn Kittner boy. So anyway, so next week, we're starting off. We're going to be doing a month of Universal Horror, taking 1 week off to celebrate the release of the final Halloween film. Halloween Ends, which we'll talk about the week after that comes out. So I think it comes out on the 14th, so we'll be talking about it on the 20th or something like that. But we're going to cover all the creature movies as best we can. We'll focus on the first one, and talk about the other two a little bit, and then we've got Dracula, the Mummy, and Frankenstein. Are we doing all of them, Seth? The Wolfman?
I don't think we're gonna do the Wolf. I mean, we did a full episode on the Wolfman, the original and the remake.
Oh, that's right.
And really, Larry Talbot's story is really through the crossovers, but
in the Frankenstein sequel,
we don't have that much time. I mean, if we're doing this all in a month, we only have a certain amount of weeks to. So we'll just cover the basics.
So yeah, so October 22 is just a love for celebrating Universal horror. I mean, some of the original horror movies. I mean, up there, of course, is Dr. Caligari and Nosferatu and stuff, which is 100 this year. But like these are the ones that really got the horror genre moving forward. And I know that Jared, who lost connection, he's got a deep love for the Universal movies. Steph and I bonded over that. That's why he's with the Horror Syndicate, because of Universal movies. And I know Nate's got a deep admiration from as well. So it should be fun. Should be a fun month. Hopefully Nate will figure out the tracking number issue with the whatever that was. What movie was that? Was that the Creature movies?
The Mummy movies.
The Mummy movies. Okay.
Yeah.
That sucks. Anyway, so watch some Universal horror. I'm also looking forward to getting back in October and watch some Hammer horror, because I absolutely love Hammer's movies, even though some of them were cheesy, but whatever. So come back next week. Next Wednesday, we'll be live on the 28th talking about Creature from the Black Lagoon, the 3 movies, and mostly concentrating on the first one. And I'm expecting Seth to lead these conversations, because he did a whole ranking of all 3 of those movies a couple years ago for the Horror Syndicate, our YouTube channel. So check that out. And since Jared's not here, I'll say bye for him. Seth, any last words on Carrie before we go?
No, it's a really good movie. I really love De Palma. I really need to see more of his films.
Yeah, I agree.
I've loved his style of filmmaking since I saw The Untouchables when I was a kid.
Have you seen Blowout?
No.
I would start there. Blowout has John Travolta and Nancy Allen both. They're the stars with John Lithgow. It's arguably his best thriller. Dress to Kill, but I think Blowout. If there's anything better than Carrie, maybe Blowout. And Blowout has a lot to do with the film industry too. Travolta plays a sound designer for film. He's working on a slasher film at the beginning of the movie, doing sound for it, and it's kind of a loose remake of Blow Up, where the guy captures a murder on shooting in a park and captures a murder on film and blows it up, tries to find out who killed whoever. A little bit of Coppola's The Conversation, a little bit, but it's one of Travolta's best films. And Nancy Allen's really good. She plays kind of a prostitute, I think, in the movie. And then Lithgow's the villain, the real creepy villain.
Brian De Palma casting his wife as a prostitute.
Yeah.
My favorite is Scarface, but you guys, I think you already know that. The De Palma film, anyway. Anything else, Seth, before Nate finishes up his final thought?
Yeah, just I would encourage people to read the book Carrie as well. I'm sorry for bringing it up a lot. I know we're supposed to be talking about the movie.
No, that's
but
no.
I really got into the book, listening to the audio book, and I mean, Carrie in the book, Carrie fucks up the entire town. Like she has a higher body count than Jason Voorhees.
She kills like 450 people or something.
yeah.
And I remember like one of the early ideas for an adaptation was to go the Rashomon route, like Akira Kurosawa, where it's like the trial and like figuring out like is Carrie White guilty or whatever, like for killing the whole town or something. That was like an early idea of how to adapt it. But yeah, I read the book 30 years ago. I have not heard this audio. Knowing that Sissy Spacek read it even makes me want to get the audio book.
Is that from Audible?
I have the book. I don't have the one I read in 1989 or whatever it was, but I do have a copy of it. But I haven't read it since the 80s, and I do remember it being a really great fucking book.
Yeah. It goes back, like going what you were saying about like the documentary thing or whatever. It goes back and forth. I was telling this to Ray earlier with, the story as it's actually happening, plus like articles and clippings and discussions after the fact, you know, and
so it was like the Rashomon thing or the try,
there was a whole committee like dedicated to figuring out what happened. There was there was interest in, like, there was a lot of doubt cast on Sue, whether she was telling the truth. Like, they were doubting the motivation of Tommy. So, like, you know, she even mentions it in the book, like she's basically being used as a scapegoat. Yeah. And there's just one last thing on the book. Like, there's you know, towards the end, as they're figuring everything out with what they call TK for telekinesis, you know, all these experts determined that it could, you know, this was an isolated incident. It probably would never happen again. It was just like the right combination, you know, with the genetics and all that. But then it ends with like this final letter where this woman's writing to her sister, and she's talking about her young daughter moving marbles with, you know, marbles. She was playing with marbles, but she wasn't touching them, and they were moving them. Yeah. So, like, I mean, even in a way, Stephen King kind of set up like a sequel spin-off.
And I know De Palma wanted to do the whole destroying the whole town, but they just didn't have the budget for it to destroy the entire town.
Yeah, it was a really cool moment in the book, like, because I didn't expect it to happen.
Well, she kind of does in the remake. I mean, she causes a lot more damage outside of the school than.
I haven't seen the remake yet, so I haven't seen either of the remakes. I've only seen Carrie and the Rage Carrie 2.
Did you get that 3-pack I was telling you about? It's like $10 on Amazon.
No, I forgot all about it.
Well, I got a version of it here, and the 2002 version's in there. So, and the Rage Carrie 2. So it's a DVD, but, you know, I'm not Keith. So I can still watch DVDs.
Yeah.
But stinking DVD out of my paws.
Yeah, I know. He's wanting to get those Hellraiser movies. It's like cough, DVD, cough. You know, and, no, he's too good for the DVD. Anyway, Nate, what about you? Last couple things on Carrie.
I think I've said it all. I think it deserves as much attention that The Exorcist and Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween and all those other 70s horror movies get. I think it's just as good as those movies, and it just has never brought up when those movies are talked about. And I don't know why, but the director's there, the writing's there, the cast is there, the story's there, the music's there, cinematography's there. It's one of the best made horror films, in my opinion, especially at that point. There's not many better. It wasn't corny. I mean, it has its moments. You know, it has melodrama a little bit from the way the score is handled and some of it, but it never feels soap opera-ish or anything like that. It feels, I think that's on the strength of Sissy and Piper, especially Sissy. Sissy is very real. As crazy as her mom is, Sissy's very grounded, and I think that's what it is. If Sissy wasn't so grounded in reality, even though she's the supernatural figure of the movie, and Piper is so in Cloud City in her performance, if Sissy wasn't so real, I don't think the movie holds together. And because Sissy is a powerhouse in that movie, I think that's where the magic is. I just think it's a great film that, you know, I wish it came up more often. I think it's one of those Stephen King movies that gets forgotten because it was the first. And people really think of the 80s when they think of Stephen King. They think of the 80s.
The bulk of his stuff did come out in the 80s too, you know, when we were all young and growing up. I just looked at our original from 2016 top 25 horror films of the 70s. Carrie was number 8.
Yeah, it's a 10. It's top 10. If it's not, something's wrong. Somebody forgot something.
Yeah, The Omen, Texas Chainsaw. I mean, the 70s have some, you know, heavy hitters. So number 1. But also
and all those Ridley Scott, Steven Spielberg, Brian De Palma, John Carpenter, William Friedkin, I mean, you're
Romero.
talking about some fucking
Hooper.
Oscar, Richard Donner, Dario Argento. You're talking about powerhouse filmmakers.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, for anybody who watches this who doesn't know Carrie, it's streaming on Shudder. So if you are like, well, I don't have a copy, it's on Shudder. Just like those 4 movies we talked about. Shudder has all kinds of stuff. And matter of fact, I was going to watch it on Shudder. I watched my Blu-ray from Screen Factory instead because I wanted to see. Actually, I watched the difference in the quality. It's not much different. So Shudder is just as good as my Blu-ray. But anyway, that's it. Again, just a gentle reminder. Next week, we're starting on our Universal movies, and we will see you next week getting ready for some October stuff. So have a great night. Watch some horror this week and go see Pearl. Go see Barbarian, especially you, Seth. We'll see you next week. Bye.
That's night.